Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Shurina, and I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you the best brain body tools to help you feel, look, and do your absolute best. And folks, as you guessed it, today we are talking about motivation. Motivation in relation to productivity. And I'm bringing to you very specific tools from three experts, not one, but three experts that will help you to manifest that motivation, that energy to get things done in front of you that you might be resisting doing, that you might don't want to do. They might not be fun, they might be hard, they might be challenging, they might be overwhelming and big. And how do you summon that energy, that motivation to keep you going, to keep you getting the work done that needs to be done, like today, when you don't have the capacity to schedule it for as many days as you want, but you need to get it done today? I'm definitely finding myself in this situation when I need to rebuild my business faster and sooner than later, because my livelihood really depends on it. And my livelihood, I also need to help out my parents and just fix my life literally, because I share it with you folks that this year has not been easy for me and for my business for many different reasons, starting from war and that crushed my business that was based in Europe, and then things just were not working out as they did, maybe, economic crisis, whatever. But as an entrepreneur, you always have to figure out a way out, because there are people who find the way out, they figure it out, and everything is figure outable, as Marie Forleo likes to say. So it is on me to fix it and to thrive. And very often these days, again, I find myself in a situation where the day is long and I have a lot of things to do, and I'm not in a position to just do them when I like it. My situation is to get them done right now. And a lot of us in this situation, like very often, especially if you are an ambitious person who wants to achieve things, to move things forward, to make progress, to get momentum, you got to get things done right now, right? There are a lot of things about this concept that be patient with the world, but impatient with yourself. Meaning, be patient with how things pay off in the world and how they move forward, but be impatient with your own actions. And I truly believe it, that if there is no need to wait, then do not wait. And sometimes the waiting is because of our own, again, lower energy, lower motivation stage. So without further ado, let's get into practical tools from world's top experts on basically productivity, motivation, and energy. And they call it different names and they come from different background, but these are the tools that work for everyone as long as you have a human brain. And these are skills that you can develop, and you can get better and better and better to the point that you'll always know how to summon that energy, not from food, not from stimulants, but from your internal resources, how to summon that energy to get things done well and on time, whatever is humanly possible in the situation you are in. So let's start with mice, not with people. So mice are not the expert, it's extra bonus. So mice, neuroscientists did research on mice, and they noticed, in mice, they can measure a lot of things, because you can prick their brain and measure, the signals that the brain transmits, or sometimes even brain chemistry, while the mice perform something. And so they measured, and they noticed that whenever mice was closer to getting the reward, like they knew maybe the food was in their sight, or maybe there was a smell or some indication that the food was coming, they would work harder through the maze, for example, to get to that reward, to get to their food. So what neuroscientists noticed is that mammals specifically, we have this tendency, our brain has this property, when the reward is closer and we are aware of that, more dopamine is released, and because of that we feel more energetic and we feel like we have a lot more resources that we can give to the completion of this task. So whenever we feel that the reward is coming, we are working harder for it. Just remember that not just true for humans, true for mice and all mammals and maybe other animals too. I'm not aware on the top of my head of those studies, but anyhow, so mice would work harder when the reward was closer. Now, let's get to one of the top neuroscientist researchers. She has a lab in New York. I think it's in New York University. And Emily Balcetis, she was on our podcast, so look for that episode if you want to learn more. I'm going to be bringing more insight from that podcast over the course of the next few, weeks and months, because that podcast just has so much practical value, and I'm still unpacking that in my head. But anyhow, Emily Balcetis from New York City, she has her lab, neuroscience lab, and she has a book, Clearly, Closer, Better, How Successful People See the World. And she studies motivation and psychology of focus and what drives human beings and how to influence those drivers to make us perform and do better in life and achieve our goals. So she did this research. She interviewed Olympic runners, top Olympic runners who, if you're an Olympic runner, you're already a top runner. And she interviewed them, specifically marathon runners, and she asked them what they focused on when it comes to their vision specifically, and also in their mind, what they focus on to get to the end destination that is far away. This goal might be overwhelming, like you have to be running quite fast for several hours. For a lot of people, it's just overwhelming, and people don't give it all because it is overwhelming and it's hard almost all the way through. And so she asked them, what do you focus on to show those great results? And what she learned, and was actually surprised, she didn't think that would be the case. What she learned is they were very close focus. So they would just focus on the next milestone and make for a moment make that end destination. So they were bringing visually and in their mind the reward, the destination, closer to them. And what we know from mice, right? Mice work harder, brain releases more dopamine. That's what it seems to be happening from other research and studies. And because of that, we feel like we have more energy, we have more focus, we are more motivated, our body is just ready to act, and all of the resources are coming into play and are ready to be used, right? We are activated. So Olympic runners used it to run marathons successfully. They focused visually again and in their mind on the next milestone, or sometimes on the next runner in front of them. How do I overcome this runner? Just not win the race, but how do I just overcome this runner? So Olympic runners use the same technique. We human beings are very special compared to mice and other mammals because we can actually change our focus consciously when we are aware of the purpose of our pursuit, right? If you have a big goal, if you have a 5, 10, a 20, 30-year vision, if you have that goal and vision, where to invest your energy and resources to change, to influence, to impact some area of the world, a lot of times it would feel overwhelming. And very often for a year or 2 years, you might not be actually seeing considerable from the outside. For the outside world, you may not be doing a lot of progress. It's like you're standing still, but you're putting in the work and you're making progress. And sometimes it can be really demotivating. Actually, for the brain, if your brain doesn't notice progress or you do not acknowledge progress, it is very demotivating, and your dopamine levels, the one that make you go, actually start to drop. So anyhow, back to Olympic runners. They use this technique to work on their bigger goal, running a marathon. They use this technique of narrow focus, focusing only on the next milestone, whatever that might be, or overcoming next runner, to give themselves better energy. They didn't know that, but they they figured out that worked, and that's what they do. I also ran a couple of marathons in my life, and that's exactly how I did it. At the middle point, I felt like I just don't have it in me. I'm just gonna stop. But then no, I'm just gonna overcome this person who was not as fit, not as young, and was still running. I'm gonna be overcoming this person because I'm better than them, right? And then I focus on the next and the next. And a friend who was watching me, he had a car, and so he had the ability to follow me through this marathon distance. And he said, at some point, I really saw that you were not going to make it, but then somehow you did. And yes, I finished both marathons, and maybe, not with the best timing, but I did find those research and what helped me exactly what helps Olympic runners to get better results and win medals. Focus only on the next step. And that's what helping me now to keep going and every day showing up, delivering things to keep building my vision. Even when I don't see a lot of progress in the outside world, I know I'm working on things and certain things I'm improving, and I'm focusing only on the next milestone. Now, from neuroscience researcher to Navy SEAL. Yes, you heard it right. We're going to combine, and that's actually what he does, combine Navy SEAL's skills or attributes, what he calls in his books, with neuroscience. And that will bring us back to the same exact idea of what Rich Devine, the author of the book, The Attributes, calls the skill or the attribute of compartmentalization. Oh, I pronounce it well. Probably not going to do it again, but compartmentalization. Rich Devine, the author of the book Attributes, who, by the way, I'm going to be interviewing today, considered this attribute is one of the most important, as he mentioned in his latest book, Attributes for any high performer. And why is that? And what is it? What is compartmentalization in his words? It is the ability to look at the complex, overwhelming situation. As a Navy SEAL, you would have plenty of those where you don't know what the heck is going on, but you just need to focus on the next piece of the puzzle and deliver great performance. So Rich Devine, compartmentalization. So this attribute is about being able to break down this overwhelming task and focus only on the next step and deliver your best performance, and then focus on the next step. And he considers this ability of a person to do that automatically and fast and effectively one of the key features of a great Navy SEAL, of a great leader, or anyone who can perform well in overwhelming, complex, not certain situation, right? And a lot of times in life, those are the exact situation that we are in, like building a business. Oh my God, that is a task and you never know where it's going to finish. And you don't even know a lot of times, especially at the beginning, what's going to happen the next week, next month. And so you have to have the ability, you have to train this ability to break down this task and make a good decision, or whatever quality decision is possible. Like, what is the next step I can focus on, I can deliver, and that has the potential to move my mission forward. And so you focus only on that. And in his book, The Attributes, he also talks about, and in his latest blog also about on the compartmentalization. So Rich Devine talks about how when you break down this overwhelming task and only focus on the next piece of work that is small, that is manageable, that you know you can do it, your brain again releases dopamine. You get this energy boost, you get this boost for drive, for motivation, and you're working on it and you're feeling great. And once you accomplish it, you get that boost of dopamine because you accomplished, you made progress. And when you have progress, indication of progress, your brain is releasing more dopamine, so you keep going. So Navy SEALs, great Navy SEALs, have this attribute, whether they worked on it or not, but they all have it. And in his blog, Rich Devine also describes a story from his childhood, how he and his brother, I believe, they had this task to bring some wood. I believe they just needed to move it for the winter to burn, to warm the house. But anyhow, so it was a big job, and the way they approached it was through compartmentalization. Like that was the job was overwhelming. They didn't want to do it, but what they did is they focused on the next task, one piece of wood at a time, and then they would carry on, doing one small task after another, and that's how they didn't even notice how they finished, feeling great and energized. So Navy SEALs use the same skills as Olympic runners do to get those medals, as mice used to, even unconsciously, to get their food and work harder, have the resources, so manifest the internal resources, like mice don't drink caffeine or any stimulants to get that reward. And now, so progress, understand that progress is important, compartmentalization, the skill of breaking down an overwhelming task into smaller pieces. What we're doing here is we are making progress indicators more frequent. So we release more dopamine. So we get more resources to work harder at achieving that goal. So we actually feel like we have more energy and resources, right? Progress. Focus on this world, because from Rich Divini, Navy SEALs, we are going to the world's top productivity expert, one of the world's top productivity experts, Tiago Forte, and he wrote a book that's called Building a Second Brain. He's working on another book right now. So he is one of the world's top productivity experts. And in this book that has this subtitle, a proven method to organize your digital life and unlock your creative potential. And it also, the book has another subtitle, Remember Everything, Achieve Anything. So Tiago Forte, productivity expert, Building Second Brain is the book. And he has a blog. And in his recent blog, he was writing about productivity, about this new book, a new system in his book, how to, organize things in life. And he had this piece about how to kill your motivation. When he goes and works with executives, the first thing he often does is helping them to break down big, long-term, overwhelming projects or areas of improvements into concrete, small projects and smaller incremental steps. And why does he do that? To make sure that they have also progress indicators all the way to achieving, a bigger goal. So every time they achieve this milestone and they focus only on the next step, they have dopamine release, they have energy, they have motivation, because as Tiago Forte puts it, there is no better way to kill motivation than to have, than continuously working on some goal and feeling like you're not making any progress. And progress is a very subjective thing, guys. When you're working on a 10-year vision or 10 or 20-year vision, now, you might not see, again, from the outside perspective, considerable progress, but there might be a small project that is contributing to that vision, and you are making small improvements in that project that you can track. But if you look at the bigger picture, it's like almost not noticeable. And you might not even acknowledge it. You might just, I did that, I did that. And then you never acknowledge the progress, and you're constantly like working on the same goal that will be, that will have noticeable progress, maybe, in several years. And again, Tiago Forte says it, there is no better way to kill motivation than to continuously working on something and feel like you're making no progress. And that's exactly what happens when we only working on this overwhelming bigger picture and never breaking down into smaller projects, smaller milestones. So the win, the progress indicator is right around the corner. And it all goes back to the same idea of breaking down your bigger vision into smaller projects, into monthly goals, into weekly goals, into daily goals. So every day, even hourly goals. So every day, every hour, whatever you're working on, you have energy, you have motivation, and when you feel overwhelmed and exhausted, you can still manifest more. Of course, you're a human being and you need to recover, but if there is a deadline and you need to make it happen before going and resting and recovering, then this is how, without stimulants, because stimulants do backfire very often for quality of your sleep and overall just burning out your whole system. So this is how you manifest more internal resources to get that work done, to get through this, presentation, to get through this speech, to get through this piece of code. Maybe you're working on your health and fitness and you need to get this workout done, and you wake up or at the end of the day and you're just not feeling like that. So what you do is you create a small milestone, like I'm getting to the gym and I'm only going to do this, 10 reps of this one exercise, like 10 squats. That's all I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden, for your brain, is a more manageable task. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to do only 10 squats. Yeah, sure, I can do that. And all of a sudden, you have the energy to move forward. And once you do that, you realize that you actually have more energy because you get your dopamine going, and exercise also helps with that. And all of a sudden you feel energized, and like you get a second wind, or maybe a third or fourth if it's, at the end of the day. So from mice to Olympic runners to neuroscience, to top neuroscience research, to Navy SEALs, to world's top productivity experts, all point to the same idea. Working on a bigger goal, even if that goal, yearly goal, break it down into smaller projects, break it down into goals, into monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly goals, all with the purpose to manifest more energy, more motivation, to get things done better, faster, and to ultimately actually move towards your goal and vision faster. And again, back to the idea, like, be patient with the outcomes, but be impatient with actions taken. And that is the advice to you and to myself, folks. And remember, you have more internal resource than you realize. And you can manifest that by simply changing and narrowing your focus, focusing only on the next milestone, and obviously creating that milestone. So if you're having a hard time figuring out or imagining yourself finishing that 25-page presentation, then maybe focus on the next slide. And that's about it, folks. I believe I give you a lot of great stories, information, and examples of how you can apply the same principle, the same skill, and how different people, athletes and Navy SEALs and executives, how they apply the same concept to be more effective and get greater results at what they do when you have complex, overwhelming, big projects or areas of improvements. If you love this episode, folks, you know what to do. Share this with other entrepreneurs, maybe your co-founders, maybe your family members. Help them achieve their goals better and faster by focusing on the right thing. You have total control of your focus. And so learn to use it to help yourself, to help others. So share this podcast episode. Also, give our podcast any praise, ratings, reach out, give feedback, comment, but most importantly, share this podcast so more people have these tools and we all live a better life achieving our goals. And that being said, have an awesome weekend and look for more awesome science-driven episodes next week. And again, today I'm interviewing Rich Davinian, that Navy SEAL, and one of the attributes, compartmentalization. So stay tuned for that for sure. Have an awesome weekend. Share, teach others, and I'll talk to you very soon.